Hi everyone, and welcome back to Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks. And today we're going to be doing our practice run, or kind of a walkthrough of Harrowing Woods. And so let's get started. Go to our practice mode and select our course, Harrowing Woods. Even though this is a dark and mysterious course, I kind of like it. We have a park nearby our house that it kind of looks like this. I'm right at home here. And this course, especially around Halloween time, they really dress it up nice with lots of ghosts and goblins. All right, I think we'll start with our 10 PD here and just put a little bit of a hyzer on that. And that should swing around and bring us up fairly close to the basket for an easy toss in. And I don't know if I need to show you anything else on that. With the discs that we currently have in the bag, that is about our only option there, but it gives you a nice easy birdie. Moving on, this, the circle of stones. Some people call this Stonehenge. We basically want to use our 10 speed again, just bring it over a little bit and put a little bit of a hyzer on this, not too much or you'll be down the hill, and hopefully it doesn't hit that stone. We're still okay. Sometimes I'll get right behind that stone and block your shot. But today we get our birdie. There is a way of working around that stone. You might want to Google Disc Golf Valley Around the World shot or something like that, and you'll get a demonstration of how you can get around big obstacles like that. I haven't quite mastered it yet, or I would show you myself. All right, hole number 3, another fairly easy. There's a lot of easy holes on this. You shouldn't have too much trouble getting your 3 stars on this, actually. The 7 is the disc to use here. I would bring it over about midway between those 2 trees in the distance, and then put just a little bit of, maybe half a hyzer on that. And it should swing around close to the basket. Oh, this new Pure. We might as well use that. 10 speed, we can just toss this in. Except sometimes you might notice I can't grab that and pull it back. And you might see some kind of a shadowy tree there. And that's basically saying that the camera is behind the tree. And because of that, for some reason, sometimes you can't pull down for a putt. So you do have to switch to a backhand and throw it in. Hole number 4. All right, this is a fun hole because it is a fairly easy ace. And the 5 speed is the disc of choice to get that ace. And depending on where your the direction of the wind is where you're going to place this. The horizon that you are the horizontal position, let's say, is right along this tree branch here. And if you've got a 1 speed in that direction, you probably want to position it right about here. Now this Fey is not the disc I usually use, so it may be a little bit different flight, but the idea is now to just pull it straight back and center it and hope that your cameraman is not bouncing around too much. That's what some people call this, the drunken cameraman, the way the aiming device moves around. And yeah, it's off just a little bit, and that's usually a result of the movement of the aiming device. You get it all lined up the way it should work, but then just before you release it, the camera or the aiming device moves on you. But let's try it again. It's fun to see the ace. Replay hole. 5 speed, and with this wind, let's maybe just put it to the other side of the tree trunk there. Pull back. And now that's way off. Let's try a rethrow and make it, again, I'm not used to this face, so it could be flying a little bit different. I didn't pull that back straight. Let's try that one more time. Get it straight this time. And that's kind of more like what we're looking for. And so you see, it's a fairly easy ace. I call it easy. I still, today, after playing this for 3 years, I guess, still only get this ace maybe 20-30% of the time. But it is still fun to try every time, and it's nice when you get it, especially when you're playing multiplayer and you're competing against everybody else and you're the only one that gets it. So it's a good idea to spend some time practicing this hole and learn how you can get that by positioning it. What the idea, let's just go to it one more time. The idea would be to set it in practice mode and start it over on hole 4. Let's just maybe do that. Retire here and pick the course, go to Harrowing Woods, do 4, and press play. And now, this makes it easy to try every type of wind condition, because if you're confident of where the placement should be for a 1 speed, just hit restart, and that'll give you a different wind speed in a different direction. So now you can try where you should place that on the horizontal line for a wind speed of that direction. And usually I need to place it right about there with the disc I usually use in order to come close. But with the Svei, again, you might, if I decided to stay with the Svei, I'd probably have to learn this hole all over again, because it does fly just a little bit different. All right, so I will let you play with that a little bit, and we'll move on. All right, hole number 5. Here we have lots of swamps to lose our disc in. And this, on the other hand, is a hole where you can get an eagle to help you on your way to the 3-star goal. And it's actually a fairly easy eagle if you have the right discs in your bag. And unfortunately, we don't. What you really want is a distance driver, like the Zeus, but one that has a roll attribute. And that'll get you to where you need to go, but then stick the landing. I'm afraid that this Zeus is just going to go, it's going to bounce too far. Let's give it a try. And there's actually 2 ways that you can go. You can go around these trees to the right. Let's try that first. And let's maybe not pull it back all the way. Well, that comes in not too bad. Comes in, well, look at that bounce. And up the hill, which makes it a little more difficult to shoot down and get your eagle. And plus, if you miss the basket, you're off into the swamp. So, but let's give it a try. I would aim it just because the Svei does fade a little bit. I would aim it to the right a bit, and don't pull down to the full. No, didn't get the right height on that. But you still get a birdie when you miss the eagle, so that's something. Let's try the other direction. Replay hole, and here's the other way that you can go. And this might actually work better with the Zeus, because when you go forehand, you're only getting about 80% of the distance that you do when you do the backhand. And so this might actually not bounce us up the hill quite as bad. Let's give it a try. Let's say put a little hyzer on that. We're still bouncing further than we would like. That goes in for an eagle. I don't think that there's anything that we could do with the recoil here. I don't ever remember using the recoil on this hole, but let's give it a try. I think we'd probably want to point it about here and put quite a bit of an anhyzer on that. Well, it might be an option to keep in mind until you get a better disc for this hole. But at least it's a fairly easy birdie as you're working towards your 3-star. Next hole. Oh, here's another eagle. Lots of chances for eagles here. The idea is to go through a small tunnel here. We'll call it a tunnel, a hole in the rock. And the Zoosh should get us through this fairly easy, and maybe bring it down a little bit. And to the left side of that tree, put just a hair of a hyzer on that. And it's going to go through, hopefully bounce, and oh, that's a tap in. That's parked. Just tap it in. And I don't know if I can show you anything more about that. There's no other line, I don't think. All right. Oh, here's a fun hole. The basket is right inside a tree. And I would say your best disc, if you've purchased the same ones I have, is your 10-speed PD. And I'd put it right about there. Put a little bit of hyzer on it. And that should bring you up fairly close to the basket for a fairly easy toss-in. The thing about it being right inside the tree, if you don't come up to the basket at the right angle, it can be a little challenging to get in there. But if you find yourself in a situation like this and you can't straddle enough to really get a good throw in, the strategy then is to use the tree trunk to ricochet in. So make your aim right to the tree trunk and hope that it does what it needs to do. Yeah. So birdie, but let's try that again. I want to show you a couple of other lines or options here. With this PD, because of the roll attribute, it might not make it. I think the 10-speed glide is what you really want here to be able to park it right at the base of the tree. If you get to the base of the tree, it's going to be a tap-in and automatic birdie. Well, let's try it one more time here and maybe not put as much of a hyzer on this and see if we can't park it. No, it just doesn't, because of the roll attribute, it just doesn't make it. But at least we're straight in now. We could even toss it with our pure. But I want to show you one other option that you can try if this is the first hole on a daily. I might have mentioned it already, but when you do the daily challenge, you can reset at any time and start over again. So what a lot of people do on the first hole is they will just keep resetting until they get their ace, if it's an aceable hole at all. Some aren't. But if it's a possible ace, then they'll keep what they call grinding away until they get their ace, and then they've got a good start on the daily challenge. And this is an aceable hole, actually, believe it or not, with our 12-speed, our recoil. And it's a little difficult to get, but when you have the option of resetting every time, and if you have the time, why not try it? But basically, what you do is point it right about there, pull back with just a little bit of a hyzer, and oh, close. No, that's going to bounce off. The problem with this is when it does bounce off, it can be difficult to come back. And so, like I say, you only really want to try this when it's something that you can reset. Otherwise, you could end up with a par. or worse, using your 12-speed recoil. I wouldn't do it normally. Okay, let's see. 2 holes left. Next hole. All right, here is hole number 8, and it's actually a hole that you can get an eagle on. It doesn't happen very often, but it's possible. And there's a couple of ways that people do it. One is to take their distance driver and point up somewhere over here and swing around. I've never really mastered that approach. The route that I usually go is I'll switch to the PD or the 10-speed roll, whatever I have, and putting the second chevron right at the base or the top of the hill there, the ridge, just pull back, but not quite all the way. Just come back just a little bit so that it lands but doesn't go very far across that way. And then you have a clear shot at the basket. And by sliding over, you've even got less chance that you'll hit any branch or tree. And then with your 5-speed throw in, there's a good chance that you can eagle this. It's kind of a little further away than we would like, but it can happen. And at this angle, if you miss the basket, the hill behind it catches it. If you go full speed on your drive and you end up further to the right, I guess it would be, of this, then if you try and run the basket, you're going to end up in the swamp. So that's why I like to hold up a little bit, land here, and then if I miss the basket, it's not a problem. So let's try this and see if we can't get it. Notice how that went way down. You have to watch that, otherwise it messes up your shot. No, didn't quite make it. But notice it sticks the landing and doesn't go into the swamp, which is nice. So that's the line that I recommend on that one. Let's go to our last hole here for today. And when I first started playing Harrowing Woods, this one really messed me up. And I would get bogeys and double bogeys and sometimes triple bogeys because you can get caught up in the woods here and just go from one tree trunk to the next. But as you gain more experience and learn the right lines, it's fairly easy to get an eagle on this. In fact, it's possible to get an albatross on this one. I don't know if I'll be able to show you that, but it is possible. With this Zeus. I've done it with a Zeus. So let's show you a couple lines here. One way is to bring it up in between these two trees, up fairly high there. Remember to switch it from backhand to forehand, and then put quite a bit of an anhyzer on that, so that your draw is at least past the disc itself. And then let it go and hope that it makes it in between these ridges, with these trees here. And that's what you want to see. And then from here, you can take your 10 speed and point it in between these two trees, pull it all the way back, and you should come in fairly close to the basket. For a nice eagle. So that's one line, but I've recently learned a new line that also gives you a fairly good chance at an eagle, but also occasionally an albatross. And so it's kind of fun to try too. I don't know if I've reached the point where I would try this line in competition. I think I need to gain a little bit more experience with it. But say it's the first hole of a daily challenge, this would be the line that I would go. And let's replay the hole. And with the Zeus, we're pointing somewhere up in that direction there. And quite a bit of an anhyzer on this, maybe halfway. And hope that you don't hit a tree here. Yeah. Now that puts you in line to the basket. So if you can get this putt, you have got an albatross. And sometimes it rolls in even closer. So, but if you miss this putt, at least you'll still get an eagle. All right, let's see if we can do this. Good thing to note here is that the trees that surround this basket, not too many of them have a collision factor. So even if your disc goes through this tree, it's going to be as if there's no tree there. So that's good to know. And for some reason, on this hole, sitting right here, I've found that you don't need to pull it down as far as you normally would for a 63. A 63, at least with the 5-speed that I'm using, would be somewhere right about there. But I found that I can get away with more like this for a 63. Ooh. Well, maybe I should have pulled it back just a little bit more for that albatross. But we still get an eagle. But you see how it can be possible to get an albatross. So if you've been struggling with this hole, getting those bogeys and double bogeys and triple bogeys, here is your opportunity to get a fairly consistent eagle. All right, well, I believe that is all I wanted to show you for Harrowing Woods as far as a walkthrough or practice run. And so I hope you were able to pick up a few tips, and if so, and you found it helpful, go ahead and give the video a like. That helps us grow our channel, let other people know, and we'll see you next time here at Disc Golf Valley Tips and Tricks. So long for now.